So let's talk about bytes and files. Again, I can demonstrate it easier in interactive Python here. So here, if I do these, all right, you can find if I set I equals to 1, I can then print I and the type of it. So that's a 1 and it is an integer. The class will tell you what type of variable it is. I can do j equals I plus 1, and that makes it 2, which is also an integer. So that makes sense. Now there's another type of object called bytes, which work like this. You can take a B and then a quote. That creates a byte type object. And now if I print that, that is a byte, and here's how it prints a byte. This means the hexadecimal value 0, 1, 1 byte, 7 zeros and a 1 in binary, and that is class bytes. Now if you try to add 1 to a byte type object, you can't. A is a byte, 1 is an integer, and you can't concatenate integer to bytes. You'd have to change it, one of the types into another, and if you want to add two things, you're going to need to turn it into an integer. So you set b equal to a of 0 and print b type b. That gives me an integer. So if you have a byte type object and you want to turn it into an integer, you can take the individual byte out of it with this square bracket, and then that'll turn into an integer. So now I can add 1 to it. Now I get 2 as class integer. So that's how you would add 1 to a byte object, for what it's worth. Gives you a little bit of practice understanding bytes and files. Now, let me get out of here and save this in a text editor. I'm going to exit. All right. And I'm going to make a program called infile. Let's see if it's in this directory already. It is. Okay. Cat infile. Pardon me. Right. I've created a file containing the word hello. Okay. Now I want to make a program that will read it, and that's what I've got here. All right. This is how you read a file. I have a file containing the word hello. So you do with open file name, and I'm going to read it as bytes. That's what this means, as f. F is going to be a handle to it. Then a colon. Now I can read the bytes one by one. Byte equals fread1. And while the byte is not empty, print it and read another byte. So this will just read a file and print it out byte by byte. Python 3 read there. So it reads the hello and the carriage return at the end of it, byte by byte, and prints them out. So that's how you read a file. Now I can copy a file with this one, which is going to be write, I think. All right, so now I open an in file to read binary, and I open an out file to write bytes as G. So now I read a byte from the F file. If it's not empty, then I print it to the screen and write it to the G file, and then read the next byte. So this will just copy byte by byte from one file, and it's going to copy from a file named in file and put it in a file called out file. So let me see if I already have an out file from doing this demo before, and I do. So I'm going to remove that. All right, and now I'm going to run that Python 3 write. Okay, and so it shows all the bytes, and now if I do ls-l, it has created an out file that is 6 bytes long, the same as the in file. And if I want to look in them, I can cat the in file and cat the out file. All right, so that's the point. Now you can read from a file, get the bytes, and write to an out file, and so there are a couple of flags. Here's one, for example. There's a file you can get that contains a lot of bytes, and you have to count the number of bytes that are equal to 8. And here's another one where this is actually a kind of fun way to do cryptography. I took a file and I broke all the numbers into 2 digits. So let me demonstrate this. Well, you can try these flags. Here you just count the 8s. Here you have to take the bytes and add them together. So let me show you what this means in a hex viewer. Is probably the easiest way to do it. Let me download this file. Okay. And this file. Okay. And if I put them in a hex viewer, it will be easiest to see what I'm doing here. Okay, here's 2A. Open with hex fiend. There we go. There we are. Okay, so here's one of those files in a raw hex editor. Hex fiend is a nice free raw hex editor for the Mac. And here's the other one. Yes. This is 2A, and I should be opening 2B. Maybe I opened 2A twice by accident. Let me try it again. Open with hex fiend. There we are. So the point is, the top file, those are all unprintable characters. This one, they're scrambled characters, but if you add these together, byte by byte, it will turn into a readable message. This will turn into 54, which is a ASCII character. This one will turn into 68, and so on. So that's a thing to do in Python. Read them in byte by byte, add them together, and print the sum out, and you'll create readable text. And this one here does the same thing, but it's going to turn into a image, a ping image. So anyway, there's a few things just to give you some practice handling bytes and characters in Python. I think that's as far as we're going to get. I'm going to stop this recording.